October 21st. It is the 50th anniversary of one of the greatest baseball games ever played, Game 6 of the 1975 World Series. And of course, you remember it for maybe the most dramatic home run in Red Sox history to that point.
Fly ball on the left field line. 35,000 people on their feet, yelling at the ball, but that's nothing because Fisk, he's waving at the ball like a madman. Get over! Get over! Get over! And then it hits a foul pole. Oh, he goes apeshit. And 35,000 fans, they charge the field,
I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the one that was more important than that. Carlton Fisk hits a home run in a tie game, but the Red Sox were down 3 runs in the 8th inning and facing elimination. So what we're actually talking about is the most dramatic home run of that series.
Boy, if you get a foul ball, you're really happy you did your job. Deep center field, way back. We're tied up. Well, the fans have come alive again, Tony, Joe. They are alive.
And now let's talk to the man who brought the fans back to their feet and alive in Game 6 of that World Series. Red Sox legend Bernie Carbo joining the show. Bernie, when you see that video 50 years later, what are the emotions?
Yeah, to tell you the truth, it brings tears to my eyes. Can't imagine it's 50 years have gone by. But, the thing about it, I never thought I'd go to the plate because Sparky Anderson would go to Will McEnany. I'm a left-handed hitter. I thought they'd go to Will McEnany, bring him in. And when I went to the plate, I'm looking at bench. I said, you guys aren't changing the pitcher. He said, we're going right after you. And then on a pitch, I took it right out of bench's glove. Worst swing in the history of baseball. Johnny Bench said it looked like a little leaguer trying to learn how to hit. And Pete Rose said it's the worst swing he ever saw in his life. And Rico's at first saying it looked like a pitcher trying to learn how to hit. And the next thing I know, the next pitch I hit out of the ballpark and I'm running around second. And I want to hug Davey Concepcion because we played together in the minor leagues. I said, I can't hug him. So I yelled at Pete Rose, don't you wish you were there strong, Pete? And he's saying, this is the greatest game I ever played. Isn't this fun? But, yeah, it brings tears to my eyes because this happened a long time ago, and I can't imagine just in the playoffs the other day, my name was mentioned about being a clutch hitter and hitting the home run. I was like, wow, 50 years ago, they still remember. So it's good to have me be able to talk to you about the game, but appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, of course. No better time than this 50-year anniversary right here. Because I said it in the open, everybody remembers Carlton Fisk's home run, and that's obviously, an iconic picture. I certainly had it on my wall as a kid, even though it was before my time. And I got to think that whenever you see Carlton, he owes you a thank you just about every time. I mean, the Hall of Fame career for Carlton, sure, but like that iconic moment, it doesn't happen without you.
Well, I'll tell you what, Carlton Fisk is one of the greatest catchers I played with. I played with Johnny Bench, Manny Sanguian, and Carlton Fisk, of course. That home run, probably the greatest home run for the Red Sox in Red Sox history. I'm an unsung hero. I went to the Hall of Fame and I was taking my family in there, and they said, "Hey, Bernie Carbo, we got to show you where the unsung heroes are. We got your picture and everything up." And I said, "What do you mean? How long has it been there?" "Oh, it's only been there 3 years." Well, thank you. What nice of you to tell me. But I did write a book, Saving Bernie Carbo, and highlighting that home run, of course. But it was 3 days of rainouts, and we were practicing at Tate College, and I didn't go to any of the practices. So 3 days went by. I didn't pick up a bat. We didn't take batting practice. So it was kind of unusual. I was telling Juan Beniquez, get ready, you're going to hit. And it's just, one swing of the bat. It's amazing how one swing of the bat and a home run could identify your whole career. And that is probably the greatest swing that I ever took in my whole life. And that home run Was my gift to Mr. Yawkey and the Yawkey Association. The Red Sox, I loved the Red Sox. I loved playing at Fenway Park. And when Mr. Yawkey died, my career died. And Mr. Yawkey was the greatest owner that I ever played for. And I felt part of the uniform, and I loved the Red Sox. I met Mr. Yawkey. I gave him $20 in the clubhouse to get me a cheeseburger and fries. He said, Bernardo, okay. And I'm thinking, okay, he called me Bernardo. And Tommy, the clubhouse guy, goes on. He said, you know who you give that money to? I said, I don't know. I have no idea. He said, that's the owner. Red Sox. And Mr. Yawkey said, Bernardo, just win the game tonight. And he was a great guy. I was the first person to take him to arbitration for a $10,000 raise and lost. And I asked him in the clubhouse if I could have that money because my wife was pregnant. I needed to buy a house. 3 days later, there was a check of $10,000 and a $25,000 raise. Man, this Mr. Yawkey, the Red Sox fans, putting on that uniform, being at Fenway Park. When you leave there, baseball's over. And I knew my career was over. I came back and had a great year, hitting 286 with 3 pinch hits. Matter of fact, in 78, I started the season with a home run, ended it with a home run, had a great year. And then in May, I bought a house in Framingham. I get a knock on the door, and she says, I want to buy your house. I said, what do you mean? She said, well, it's written here that you just got traded to the Cleveland Indians. And I said, for who? She said, nothing. A bag of balls.
Jeez, lots changed since then in terms of finding out about that, huh?
So I get a telephone call 5 or 6 hours later from Zimmer, and he says, I got to tell you, we traded you. I said, no, it's in the paper, Sam. It's in the paper, man. And yeah, Cleveland Indians. Rocky Colavito was there. That was the first base coach. And when I played in Detroit, Rocky Colavito was one of my favorite ball players. Rocky Colavito.
That's the name. That's throwing it back right there. That's absolutely a trip down memory lane, which I'm happy we can do with you right now, talking about, your career and the 75 World Series and playing for the Red Sox. As someone who is a diehard fourth generation Red Sox fan, Bernie, it really warms my heart to hear you say that about, playing there versus playing anywhere else. Because you played in some good baseball cities as well, but Boston seems to be, on top of it all. And so when looking back at that World Series in particular, you guys were the underdogs. I don't know if you knew it or not, but you guys were the underdogs. And this was obviously this great series. They hadn't won in 57 years. There wasn't much talk of a curse at that point, but it had been a long time. And so what was the city like? What was the ballpark like, especially with the anticipation after all those rainouts?
Well, I'll tell you what, the funniest thing that happened to me, I didn't know about Boston at all. I didn't know about the curse or whatever. And I'm opening day in 1973, and they say to me, hey, Bernie, what does it feel like being Italian opening day and playing right field for the Red Sox leading off? And I'm thinking, what? Yeah, being Italian. I said, no. I'm Spanish. No, you're Italian.
Ends in a vowel. Got to be Italian.
Hey,
yeah.
I love being Italian in Boston, New York, and every place I went, And Joe Pepitone let me know in New York. He sat on my bench and he said, "You're going in the cement tonight. I'm tired of hearing about Bernie Carbo, the Italian. Bernie Carbo, the Italian. You're going in the river tonight." But after my career was over with, I get this card. There's 50 cards, and I look at it and I go, wow, Italian Hall of Fame, Pennsylvania Hall of Fame, the Italians. I'm one of the 50 ball players. But I called the CEO. I was saying, hey, this is Bernie Carbo. We put you in the Hall of Fame, and you're Italian. We're so happy. I said, look, this is Bernie Carbo. I'm not Italian. He hangs up on me.
Didn't want to hear it.
But I tell you, it's a lot of good. I mean, we had our 50-year reunion in the Red Sox. Mr. Kennedy and the Red Sox did a great job having us all there, and it was really a lot of fun. And then I went to speak on behalf of Mr. Yawkey and the association, and it was a tremendous time getting together, experience it. 50 years have gone by. We lost a few good ball players, but, just seeing the Red Sox and their organization and Mr. Kennedy highlighting And, the Ted Williams Museum has been real good for me, and Dave McCarthy. Ted Williams taught me how to hit and taught me things that I didn't know at 27 years old. And he was a tremendous man. I love Ted Williams. And he worked with me in my career, and he did a tremendous thing showing me how to pick up the ball, how to relax, hit the ball in the air, and not hit it on the ground. And so being there with Ted Williams, Frank Mazzone, Johnny Pesky, just Bobby Dorr, and seeing the history of the game. And we had Tony Caligliero playing with us opening day in 1975.
Mm-hmm.
He hit a home run.
Yep.
First time up. I thought, my goodness, we're gonna really rock. And then he kind of at the middle of the year ended up leaving. But Tony Caligliero was a great ball player. The Red Sox had just an understanding that, I think we as a family, Red Sox, we were really put together in the sense that the city, they either loved you or they didn't love you. They knew the game and they knew what you did. If you played hard, you run into walls and you take out people in a double play, and you played hard and you played the game the way it was supposed to be played, they loved you. And I think I played the game the right way. Fundamentally, I played hard. I did the things I needed to do. And I put that uniform on. It made me a better ball player. I was really excited playing for the Red Sox. Every game at Fenway was just beautiful. I would sign autographs out in the parking lot on the corner until the lights went out. And if I struck out 4 times, I felt really comfortable and happy signing autographs for the Red Sox fans. And that's one of the things I really loved. There were people that knew the game. You know what I mean? If you did something, they cheer you and they loved you. And I felt that love throughout the Red Sox organization and the fans. I was sick. I really cried when Mr. Yawkey died, and I had to leave the Red Sox. I knew that going to Cleveland and being the rest of my career, if I didn't go back to Boston, I knew my career would be over with.
And you're still remembered and embraced by the Red Sox, 50 years later. And I gotta move up this question because the way you talk about the organization makes me want to ask this. You had your fair share of struggles towards the end of your career and after your career. How special does it make it feel? Does it make it feel more special that 50 years later you could go anywhere in Boston? If somebody hears Bernie Carbo's in there, you're going to have a crowd around you.
It makes you feel good. It really does. I kind of wish I lived in Boston, to tell you the truth. I love Boston. I would have loved to live there, but it just didn't work out. I ended up going to Florida to play in the old senior league, and we had the Red Sox, Bull Sox with Bill Lee and a bunch of guys and everything like that. I ended up staying in Winter Haven, Florida. But if I had ended my career and stayed there when I came back after I hit the home run, the thing about hitting that home run, you dream about that home run your whole life. You dream about it. And it was exciting. I mean, you can see me running around the bases so fast and my hands were pumping up and everything. But nobody realizes that I was traded to the Milwaukee Brewers in May of 1976 after that home run. That broke my heart. I was supposed to report in 72 hours. I didn't report for 22 days. I was ready to quit baseball, and I wish I would have at that particular time. But hitting that home run, you realize you're just a piece of property. I mean, I get traded after that home run. I was one of the first. We had a great team. I think that team, we played the World Series without Jimmy Rice. That was the greatest team I ever played on. I played with the Big Red Machine in 1970, 71, 72, and 73. They were great, but we were better. And when Mr. Yawkey died and Hayward Sullivan and Buddy LaRue took over, they started ripping our team apart. And I was the first one to go. And then, of course, Bill Lee and Freddie Lynn and a few other, Carlton Fisk and whatever. We broke that team up in 76. It started. And I think if Mr. Yawkey would have stayed alive, he would have kept us together. And we would have probably been even better the next year and the next year because we had tremendous players and young players that were great players like Freddie Lynn and Jimmy Rice and Dwight
Yeah.
Evans. And then, of course, we had good pitching.
Mhm.
So I thought that was the best team I ever played on.
And people kind of forget it now. Like, you guys were in the race until the last couple of weeks of the season in 74. And obviously people remember that in 78, some of those young guys more coming of age, and that's another loaded Red Sox team. So you think about that in between that 76, that could have been kind of continuing the run there. And suddenly all we have to look back on for the pennants is 1975. And so, you talk about, you felt like you had a better team than Cincinnati, and Cincinnati's getting into the big red machine. Obviously, they win the World Series again the next year. But talk about kind of the buildup to that World Series. That 75 season, you said you knew pretty early on that this was going to be a heck of a team. When did you think the city kind of bought in and said this could be the year?
I think when we picked up two rookies, Jimmy Rice and Freddie Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
I knew then when they started playing baseball and watching them in spring training and opening day and watching their careers, I knew that we were going to be strong with Yaz and Carlton and Dwight and those boys and the pitching and everything. I knew then that we had a great team. Those young boys and Carl Shrimsky, of course, you can't ever forget him, a Hall of Famer. So I thought right there from spring training when we had those two young kids and watching our pitching staff, I thought we had a great chance and a great opportunity to be great forever. As long as those kids stayed strong. And you have to kind of realize that when Jimmy Rice broke his hand, that's like, I put in my book, I said, losing Jimmy Rice was like losing Tony Perez.
Yeah.
He said, it's like losing Johnny Bench. I said, they're both Hall of Famers, my man. They're both Hall.
Yeah.
But Tony Perez, you take him out of the lineup, and he's a RBI king, played for Cincinnati. He came to Boston to play too.
Mm-hmm.
But there's two things you don't forget. There's a game that you got a man on first. Pete Rose is on first, and I'm playing left field. There's one out. Bench hits the ball to Burroughs, and he flips it over to Denny Doyle. I'm coming running in. Double play. We're going to be out of the game. We don't turn the double play. He throws the ball up in the stands. We walk somebody. Then he throws the blooper pitch. He throws the blooper pitch to Tony Perez, and he hits it 400 some feet. And you go, oh, my goodness. You look at it, one inning or one pitch or one play that can take that World Series from you. And I played in the World Series in 1970 against the Baltimore Orioles when they had 520-game winners. And Brooks Robinson was down there being like a vacuum cleaner. And we lost games 5 in a row. And after the last game, I made the last out as a pinch hitter. And I'm sitting in the clubhouse, and I'm looking at Tony Perez. I said, when's the next game? When's the next game? I'm a rookie, When's the next game? I'm rookie of the year, hit 310, 20 home. What's the next game? Tony looks at me, in spring training, buddy. Spring training. I'm like, this is over? So the second World Series, you kind of, the excitement, you know what it's about. And, every play, every instant, everything you're doing has to be perfect to win the game and do the things you need to do. The routine plays, you don't lose on a blooper pitch. You got to turn the double play. And then, you get yourself in trouble. I'm in the third game. I'm in Cincinnati. I'm in the clubhouse, and I'm talking to Pete Rose and all the players. I know you guys. I need to play against you guys. I beat your butts, I'm talking some trash and telling them, if I was in the lineup, you'd be in trouble. And they're laughing. We're talking. And the next thing, it's in the newspaper. So Johnson calls me in the office and says, hey, look, we don't need any trouble. And I said, what do you mean trouble? He said, did you read the paper this morning? I said, no. He said, well, you're talking about being in the lineup. I said, well, that might be a good idea.
Now that you say it, now that you mention it, right? That is good. That is good. I do have to get you, since you mentioned Ted Williams earlier and the tips that he taught you. Do you have a good Ted Williams story for us?
Oh my goodness, yes. 1973, I get some golf clubs, right? And they're left-handed clubs, and I go play golf, and I have to learn how to hit a ball on a stick and use every club, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. So I knew I'd get in underneath the skin a little bit, because he said the hardest thing to do is hit a baseball being pitched. And I said to him, they were always sitting, Bobby Dorr and him always sitting together. So I walked over and I says, "Hey, Ted, I got some left-handed clubs for you to play golf because this is the hardest thing I've ever had to do." he, he, he had a lot of F-bombs. He picked up those clubs and threw them across the clubhouse, and they all splattered all over. And I just got a big laugh at it. But the first thing Ted Williams, when I was out in right field, he came up to me. He says, "You're Bernie Carbo." He said, "What do you look for when you're hitting?" I said, "Well, I look fastball and react to curveball." And he said, "Well, that's why you hit 150. I hit 400. And he showed me how his grip, how loose his hands were, And I said, "You really hold the bat like that?" He said, "What did I tell you? That's why you hit 150. You got to listen to me." So for 3 weeks, it was a lot of fun, but it was really kind of scary too, because when he asked the question, "You better be right." The first thing he says, "Why do you pop up?" And I'm going, "Oh, I know, man. Jeez. How do you hit?" I said, "I don't have an idea." So finding out, you better learn how you hit. And the other thing, the reason you pop up is because you let the ball get too deep. And so the questions he was asking, and when he was, get really loud and shoot some F-bombs at me, I was like, maybe I just better be quiet and let him tell me what to do, how to see the ball, make the zone smaller, relax your upper body, hit the ball up in the air, swing up. And I'll tell you what, 70 years ago, what he was teaching as hitting, they're doing it today. They're doing everything he taught 70 years ago. Ted Williams was perfect. That ball coming down, you can hit up at the ball. Your back shoulder's going to go down. Your front shoulder's going up. You can hit the ball up in the air. And on the high pitch, you can hit that line drive, and you're going to hit the ball hard. Hit the ball hard, Bernie, and really have confidence in your ability. So he was ahead of his time. And I love Ted Williams, believe me. He was one of my favorite people. And Bobby Dorr was too. But the old guys were really good guys. Johnny Pesky, Frank Mazzone. They taught you about baseball.
Yeah. And that's the Red Sox keeping it in the family, right? Keeping these guys, bringing them back and helping out the next generation.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun. It was a lot. And Dom DiMaggio, when I was in spring training, Dom DiMaggio was Joe DiMaggio's brother. He would drive up with his Cadillac, park it, and come over to right field and always said hello to me. Always. And I was like, oh, man, this is really cool. John DiMaggio.
Yeah.
Dang.
That's something,
I was
man.
like, wow. I was fun, man. It was fun. Yeah. It was an organization that had a lot of great ball players, and they still today. I mean, I follow the Red Sox today.
That was my next question. How much do you follow them today?
I followed them during the times that I told Joe Torre, you were up 3 games and you were in Boston and you thought you could go home and win win the next one. I said, you made a mistake. You didn't want to win that one in Boston. And they went there and beat you and took it. The opportunity in the World Series, you play every inning and every game as it's the 7th game of the World Series. And that's when they cowboyed up, man. They cowboyed up and took the Yankees and won the World Series. That was fantastic. They were great ball players, and they were down, and they came back. That was very exciting to watch.
Last question for you. Looking back on the 50th anniversary of the 75 World Series, you've played in a couple. You've seen a lot of baseball over your lifetime, Bernie. Is 1975 the greatest World Series ever played?
Yes. And you want to know why?
Yeah.
Because every player on that Cincinnati team, no matter they lost, Sparky Anderson couldn't understand why all the players were saying, this is the greatest game we've ever played, Sparky. Greatest game ever. And Sparky would go, we lost the game. We lost the game. And Pete Rose would say, they think that they won 7th game of the World Series. We're going to win tomorrow. So that, to me, when you look at a team, it knew there was going to be a game 7, and we thought game 6 we won the World Series. But it was the greatest game ever played because the opposing players were talking. We were talking. This is the greatest. I mean, Dwight Evans making a catch, and the plays that were being made, and excitement, and 3 days of rain. And all of a sudden, now we're in the greatest game ever played. And when the other team says we lost, but this is the greatest game I've ever played. That's one of the things Pete Rose said to me. This is the greatest game, Bernie. Aren't you having fun? That's what the game is, having fun. I teach kids, have fun. Play the game. It's a great game. It's a lot of fun. That was probably the most fun I've ever had in my whole life playing that game.
Wow. Like, taking a moment too, this is game 6 of the World Series. Does it catch you off guard when Pete Rose is saying that as you're rounding the bases? Like, boy, this is a ton of fun. We're 5 outs away from winning the World Series and you just tied the game, but boy, is this fun.
Yeah, and that's what he was yelling, man. I told him, don't you what you saying? He said, Bernie, this is the greatest game ever played. And even Carlton Fisk, when he hit the home run, God, this is the greatest game's ever been played. Who would ever thought that they would have voted this game 6 the greatest game ever played? I would have never thought that. But we knew as professionals and players, we were in one heck of a game. It was a beautiful game. It would have been nice, game 7. We lost the World Series. I would have preferred that would have been game 7.
Sure, yeah. I think we're right there with you.
When the people say, what do you think about that game? Well, we lost game 7. That hurt, losing game 7. But what hurt more is when I was traded in May. And I was Mr. York. I know if Mr. Yorkie would have been alive, he would have appreciated my home run enough to keep me in Boston the rest of my career.
It's certainly different playing here.
It is, man. It's fun. When you leave there, you lose life. The fans, the uniform, Mr. Yorkie, the Kennedys right now are doing a great job with what they're doing with the Red Sox. I thought that they're putting a good program out there, and they're great people. I love all the Red Sox. It's family, and it's been really nice to be able to come back after 50 years. It's the last hurrah for me. You know what I'm saying? I'm 78. It's the last hurrah, and I know probably it'll be a long time before I get back to Boston. But I tell you, Mr. Ted Williams' organization, Dave McCarthy, will have me back at spring training. Hopefully we'll go to Boston again. Dave McCarthy is the one who runs the whole organization. Pam and people that run the organization for the retired ball players and things, they do a good job for us. So I'm happy for the Red Sox. I would like to see them beat the Yankees. I thought there were a couple plays there that kind of turned it around, but it's the way baseball is being played.
Mm-hmm. It is. And we're so glad that you got to be up there, 50th anniversary. Can't wait to see you at some of the other Red Sox events as well. He was there. He was right in the middle of it. This great World Series with the great storylines and Louis Tiant and his dad and all these Hall of Famers. Bernie Carbo is right in the middle of it with one of the most clutch home runs in Red Sox history. Bernie, thanks so much for joining us on the Wicked Boston Show. Really appreciate you taking the time today on this special anniversary.
Anytime you want me, son. Anytime. I love to talk baseball, and you're doing a great job. Keep up the good work, and I love the love you have for the Red Sox. Who was your greatest ball player?
My greatest, like ever, or that I watched?
You watched.
For me, Bernie, it's got to be Pedro.
Oh,
it's got to be Pedro in that Red Sox uniform. I don't know if a pitcher had a better peak than Pedro. Like that, with the way he was doing it, the time he was doing it. Tough to beat that one. Ortiz is right up there, though. Of course, the clutch factor, being a clutch player yourself, David Ortiz would have to be right up there too. But those would be my top 2 right there.
Well, they're my top 2 too. They're both great people, great ball players, clutch players, great pitching, fantastic. And I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate it very much. Thanks a lot.
Anytime. There he goes. Bernie Carbo, World Series legend for the Boston Red Sox, taking more time than I had asked for because it was so great. Thanks so much to Bernie and remembering that great 1975 World Series 50 years ago today. You got memories from it? Let me know in the comment section below. Then be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, get in that comment section and thank Bernie Carbo, man. That is Red Sox to the core. And then subscribe, help us on the path to building this channel here on the Wicked Boston Show.